All right, let's talk about recycling in Chiyoda City. If you've ever felt a little overwhelmed trying to figure out all the rules, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to make it all make sense. Let's dive in. So let's be real. You look at the official recycling poster for the first time and it's a lot. It's kind of this wall of colors, categories, and Japanese text. If you've ever stood in your kitchen holding an empty container, just completely stumped on which bin to use, yeah, you are not alone. But here's the great thing. It's actually a really logical system once you crack the code, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to break this whole thing down into a few simple rules that you can actually remember and use every single day. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the stuff you'll be dealing with all the time, the everyday recyclables. Then we'll tackle the tricky world of plastics. From there, we'll clear up the difference between burnable and non-burnable trash, talk about those big, oversized items, and then wrap it all up with a super simple cheat sheet. Okay, let's start with the absolute basics, your everyday recyclables. These are the items you're going to handle most often. If you can get this weekly routine down, you've honestly won half the battle. See, if you look at the poster, we're zeroing in on that green section. This is your go-to category for all the usual suspects. Newspapers, magazines, cardboard, bottles, and cans. This is really the foundation of your entire recycling habit. But wait, before we even get into sorting, here is the #1 most important rule for all weekly collections. Your bags have to be at the collection spot by 8:30 in the morning on collection day. Not 8:31, 8:30 a.m. That is the absolute cutoff. Okay, so let's talk about those plastic drink bottles. The PET bottles. Prepping them is super straightforward. First, just give them a quick rinse with a little water. Step 2, you're going to twist off the cap and peel off that plastic label. Don't worry, we'll talk about where those go in a bit. And finally, stomp on it. Crush it flat. Easy. And really, that same logic applies to pretty much everything else in this category. You're going to bundle up your newspapers and cardboard with some string, you'll rinse out your glass bottles and cans, and hey, if you have something with batteries in it, like maybe one of those musical birthday cards, make sure you pop the batteries out first. All right, let's move on to the category that, let's face it, causes the most headaches, plastics. The key here isn't just about what it's made of, it's also about what it was used for and how clean it is. So, this brings us to the orange section on the poster. This category is also a once-a-week collection, and it's specifically for plastic containers and packaging. We're talking about things like food trays from the supermarket, candy wrappers, plastic shopping bags, and empty shampoo bottles. The most important thing to remember is they need to be reasonably clean. So, how do you know what's what? Here's a really simple way to think about it. Recyclable plastic is usually stuff that held something else, its packaging. Harder plastic things like an old plastic bucket or items that aren't packaging at all, like old cassette tapes or electrical cords, those actually go into the non-burnable trash. Okay, we've got recycling down. So, what about everything else? Well, pretty much all of it falls into two big buckets, burnable and non-burnable. These are your main trash bins, and you gotta remember, they're collected on totally different schedules. Let's get a closer look. Burnable trash gets picked up twice a week, and it's mostly for organic stuff. Think food scraps, dirty paper towels, old leather shoes, basically anything that's going to get stinky. Non-burnable, on the other hand, is only collected twice a month. This is for all the things that just won't burn, like a broken plate, metal forks, a small toaster, or even hazardous things like old fluorescent bulbs. Here's a little mental shortcut for you. If you're ever standing there, totally unsure, just ask yourself this. Did this come from my kitchen? Is it food waste? Does it have a strong smell? If you answer yes, 99% of the time, it's going to be burnable trash. So we've pretty much nailed the daily and weekly stuff. But what about those bigger things? Like that old chair or a broken microwave. You definitely can't just leave those out with your regular trash bags. These items have a special name, sodai gomi, which means oversized trash. The rule is super simple. If any side of an item is longer than 30 centimeters, so about the length of a standard ruler, it's considered oversized. To get rid of it, you actually have to call the oversized trash reception center to schedule a pickup and pay a small fee. Now, this is also super important. There are some things the city just cannot collect. No way, no how. We're talking about hazardous materials, industrial waste, and really, really big things like pianos or motorcycles. Computers are also a special case. They have their own recycling law. For any of these items, you'll need to contact the store where you bought it or find a specialized disposal company.
And to make all of this ridiculously easy, the city has an amazing official app called Wake Chiyo. You can just scan the QR code right on the poster to download it. It has a search bar where you can type in any item and it'll tell you how to sort it. It even sends you reminders for collection days. Honestly, it's a total game changer.
Okay, I know that was a lot of information, so let's bring it all home and lock it in with one final cheat sheet that covers all the core rules you need to remember.
And here it is, the entire system at a glance. You've got your recyclables and plastics. Those are once a week. Just remember to clean and prep them. Then there's burnable trash, twice a week. Just think kitchen scraps. Non-burnable is twice a month for all that hard, inorganic stuff. And finally, oversized items, which are by appointment only. That's pretty much the whole system right there.
And there you have it. What probably seemed like a super confusing puzzle is actually just a clear set of rules. You've now got all the info you need to handle your trash and recycling like a total pro here in Chiyoda. So the only real question left is, are you ready to start sorting?